Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Vallen, and this is Better with Mods, a mod inspired from Better with Wolves. Now let's get into how to actually start making some progress in this mod. Now with all of those in mind, obviously you already know how to get past into some stone tools, how to make some iron tools if needed. You don't even need this, you can use a regular furnace. I mean, it's still in there. Recipe for a regular furnace is still the same. You can use some other variation cobblestone blocks and so on. So you don't have to use this to make yourself the iron nuggets or something to make yourself iron tools. But if you are to start progressing with this and making yourself some kinds of low tech machinery in order to obtain some automation and so on, you're going to want to start with a millstone. Now a millstone is simply just some stone and a wooden gear, which wooden gear was used to make your initial Better with Mods book. On top of that, you've got a hand crank, which is going to be a wooden gear, sticks, and stone. So it's really basic stuff, right? And you have an internal inventory in the millstone. You can open it up. You can see here I've got a bunch of hemp and stuff that I have used. By the way, if you are looking for hemp, all you need to do is use a hoe on some grass to till the land, and you should eventually get some seeds, which I recommend you plant those as soon as possible because you need a heck of a lot of hemp in this mod. So if I have this in here, it's great. The other thing is I'm going to need some food. So if I switch this over, I don't have any food on me, but just watch my hunger meter. If I start cranking this, I click it once and it starts using my saturation level and starts eating into my food levels. Now it will only go down so far, about 2/3 of the way down my hunger meter, and it will stop. And eventually, there we go, we'll get some hemp string will pop out. Now if I want to see if it's working, I can click it once and you can see it's partially working. Click it again and you can see it goes up and so on. And it will just spit out hemp fibers, in this case because I've got hemp in there. There are other things that this might be used for. If you click on the cog in the center, you can see the different recipes for making different things. It can be very useful. For instance, a bone will get you 6 bone meal instead of just the traditional 3, and so on. So you can get a lot better materials by using a millstone. Now you don't have to stick with the hand crank because as you saw, it demolished my hunger meter. You can actually upgrade that. But before that, you should know how it actually works. Any of the open sides that it has, it can spit out the hemp fibers out from. Now, if I were to take something like one of these grass blocks and start covering around it in an effort to, therefore it would spit out here, or maybe even on top, right? Well, if I click on here, it says blocked. So what you're going to want is some kind of more transparent block. In this case, I'm using oak leaves as an example, which you should be able to obtain with some shears. And therefore, it doesn't say anything about being blocked. And if you want to speed up your time on actually making things like hemp fibers, because the use for those is going to be useful in making rope, hemp cloth, and so on. And of course, the cloth is going to be used for making different wind sails and stuff or more advanced contraptions. You can set out multiples of these because they are just made from sticks and stones after all. And then you can just, click them all at a time. And as you progress, it should, spit them all out. And I just put oak leaves around all the open sides except for one. You can try and put a hand crank down here thinking, oh, well, this one's going to affect all 3. But as soon as you pull that lever, it's just going to break and turn into most of the components from that. So it's not recommended that you actually do that. But in this case, let's see here. They should all spit out to the center. The interior, there we go. You can see that I'm getting hemp fibers popping out. It's really cool, really easy, simple way of automating it, kind of making it a little bit faster than your traditional. And then you just sit here with some food every now and then and eat some of that. Now, more advanced contraptions. We have the windmill, which is nice because it will automate things, but it can break. And the effort that you put into making this thing is annoying. But it's going to need several things. And in this case, first I'm going to show you platforms. The recipe for that is a bunch of just, planks and some wicker. Wicker is made from sugar canes. Now, you don't have to use these. I just use them because they're very convenient. You can use them as a ladder to climb up just by pressing against them. And then you can use them to go back down. Of course, I just kind of jumped all the way back down. Good thing I'm in creative. Now, there are things that you're going to want in order to automate your millstone so that you don't have to constantly keep eating and pulling levers and stuff like this to do this. And that is make wooden axles wooden gearboxes, and of course, you're going to want to make yourself a windmill. On top of that, you're probably going to want an oak, some kind of chime. It doesn't have to be a oak bamboo version or anything like that. Each one has a different sound to it, and they have different colors and looks. There's actually like the bamboo ones sound different from the metallic ones. I prefer the bamboo ones, actually. They're very nice. But they will start chiming whenever it is raining. And if it's raining, bad things can happen. That's when your windmill can break. But first, let's go over a few of these. The wooden axle recipe is going to be made from some wood plank molding and stuff, and some hemp rope. Now the molding and the plank, you can also use just regular planks as well. The molding is in there because that's a more advanced recipe, which I will show you shortly how you are able to obtain it. But it should just be applicable with regular wooden planks at the top. And of course that hemp rope that I showed you earlier, just made from a bunch of hemp fibers. So far, that's not bad, right? You can make a bunch of those. Then a wooden gearbox. Well, we can make wooden gearboxes using wooden gears and wooden just planks, as well as a redstone latch, which isn't bad. It's just some gold and some redstone. So you can make a bunch of those. Now, here's the thing. Anytime that you have axles, in one exception, which is this over here, you can't go more than 3 in between each gearbox. So to give an example here, 1, then I can put down 3 gears, and then I can have another gearbox. And then I could split off of that gearbox on multiple sides if I wanted to. And each gearbox, or each one of these axles, can be fed into a millstone or a saw or other automatable device like so. And therefore you can use those in those benefits. So let's continue on up here. I have this currently in place. Let me break this. I'll put this down. I have an axle. I have a windmill. Recipe for it is 4 wind sails, which is made from 4 hemp cloths plus a bunch of wood slabs. Hemp cloth is made from a whole lot of hemp fibers. You can now see why we need so much hemp. But all I need to do is right click. Now, if for some reason I put it down here, you don't have to have it attached directly to a wooden gearbox. It can actually go out several pieces of wooden axle. But let's say that I break this. I bring this down 1. Actually, let's bring it down a couple just in case. And I try putting it on here. You'll get a warning saying it needs a 13 by 13 area to work. So that means that you need to have it from its center after this block, 7 blocks out in all directions. Will need to be clear in a single plane. So you don't need to have it like really deep or anything like that. Now in this case, boop, there we go. It might take a second, and then it'll probably start slowly spinning. Hopefully you're not starting this while it's raining. If so, you might be in trouble. But you want to put a gearbox attached to it somewhere. Now you can feasibly come off of either side you want. Put a gearbox on there, it's fine. And then you can put axle on there, axle on here, axle on here. You notice these axles are not spinning. Why is that happening? This axle's spinning, but why are these ones not working? Because they're not actually set up to work. You need this little plus sign here to actually face the side that is powering it, which is coming from this side here. So if you hold shift and right click with an empty hand, you'll actually change the facing of where it is. And you can click that multiple times. It'll eventually cycle itself around to whatever face you want. You can see everything is now working. They're spinning. They're causing these little particles and stuff like that. It's really cool, really neat, and you can just keep on doing that. Now, here's the bad part with the windmill. If it rains or thunders or something like that, there's a chance that the gearbox that is directly connected to it, which would mean this one or this one, if I have multiple gearboxes after that, this one's safe. But this one here is and will potentially break in a thunderstorm or rainstorm. So you want to turn that off. Yes, that's right. You can actually turn this thing on and off with a redstone signal. As you can see, everything is now spinning down the side here and powering this little millstone as well as a saw. It's really cool. Causes a little bit of sound going on there. But how else can that be controlled if it's raining? Well, there's no rain detector. Well, there actually is. There's 2 different kinds of rain detectors in here. But I'm just going to show you the beginning one, which is the chimes, which the chimes are more or less a similar recipe. You can see just different types of stuff is made, which you will need some kind of molding in this case, which is made on a saw. And if you attach this, you see here, it will give in a rainstorm a redstone signal to the blocks that it's attached to. So it will come up here, it'll put a redstone signal will be output from this block that I attached it to. It has to be put underneath a block, and then this one will give a redstone signal to the gearbox, thus shutting that gearbox off and preventing it from being destroyed or damaged. And if it's damaged, then you can always repair it. Now, there's a broken wooden gearbox, which, you know, you will have to put in some new gears in it, and then it will come out as a new wooden gearbox, so you don't need to actually spend all the gears on a brand new one. So that's another option. But, like I said, this is the entry-level one. You have to actually do this one before you can do the others, in most cases, unless your mod pack changes things that it might be included in. Now let's go with a saw. A saw is going to be rather useful. The recipe for it is going to be a little bit more complex with iron and some siding and stuff like this, or just planks rather. Wooden gears and a leather belt, which is going to be made from leather straps, which is going to be made from cut leather with shears, which is going to be made from tanned leather from shears, which is going to be made from scoured leather and dung or this and that. There's a lot of steps to making a saw. A lot of steps, but there's a lot of benefits to it as well. It's one of the best wood processing items there can be. If I were to take some wood in the world, let's actually turn this contraption on at the moment, and just, you can see here, it's there. If you walk up to it and you're too close, it may hurt you. Yes, bad things. Don't put your face on it. But you can place wood on it. It will process it almost instantly and give you a whole lot in return. If you see there, I put 3 wood oak woods on there, and I got 12 planks, 3 bark, 6 sawdust, and I also have this the millstone over here processing with a bunch of hemp at the same time. So it's really, really good. It will take a little bit of getting used to and getting to it in order to get that. Something I forgot to mention about the millstone is that you can only power it with axles from above and below. You cannot power it with axles on the side. The saw, on the other hand, if you look over here, I currently have an axle coming in from the side. It can be from the bottom or the top or the back. It just can't be on the face that it has the saw blade on. And with most cases, you should be able to like shift right click to change the facing on any of the gearboxes, but it's not going to work on the saws or the millstones, because those don't actually change their facings. You have to just place them in a specific way. Now, another drawback of the windmill in this case is that it has to be above ground, and it is a 13 by 13 space. Can break the first gearbox win rating. So what do you want to do? You probably want to upgrade it as soon as you can. And in my mind, the first upgrade is a really good upgrade, and that is water wheel, which is a 5x5, needs a little bit of water, and it's good. Recipe is going to be a bunch of wood blades, which the blades themselves typically will require siding and glue. Siding is made on a saw, and glue is going to be made in a stoked cauldron, or in a cauldron, sorry, which, will be made with a bunch of iron, buckets, and bone. I will be going over the cauldron and the stoked cauldron and so on in a future, bit by bit, but for now, just know that you will need to make a cauldron, and that you can then put that above a fire source. In this case, I would put this cauldron above a fire. It could just be netherrack in this case, but if you even expand it out to a 3x3 area, it would increase its speed by which it will smell or cook things. But that's how you can make some of those. Oops, I did not mean to actually do that. But going back to this, the water wheel, you'd need to make a whole bunch of these wood blades, and then you can put them together, put them on here, and you just need a 5x5 square. Put an axle down in the middle, and then you pop it on there. And then you just need some water flowing in from the side. It has to be flowing water. If it's standing water, it won't move. And then it will potentially, if you see here, start moving axles and so on for you, and you can use that underground if you want. Now, the drawback of this is that you can't use it in the nether. You can't use that one in the nether either, because it doesn't have an open area, it doesn't open to the sky in the nether. So neither of these would be useful in another dimension. Or at least in that dimension. Now, if you wanted, you could go absolutely nuts, and you could make yourself one of these things here, which is a vertical windmill. Now, the recipe for this one is a whole bunch of wind sails. Instead of your traditional 4, you'd make a whole lot more. But recipe is standard. But the use for this one is that you actually can. Let me get rid of these. So if I put down 7 of these axles, I might actually need to put down 8 because it'll be crowding on the bottom, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I can click on here with a windmill. It will create the frame. It'll pop off any additional axles that you try attaching to it. So therefore, you might think, oh, well, that's going to be a problem. How do I actually attach some to it? Do I attach it in the middle? No. You want to attach it towards the top or bottom. You just put down another gearbox attached to it, or if you really want to be ambitious, you could directly attach a millstone to it. But I would recommend a gearbox, and then you just come off of that. From there, obviously, you'd have to also adjust it with an empty hand so that it is appropriate. There we go. And then you've got your axles turning as you need to. Now, there are advantages to this, and that is, one, it can be used underground. So I could actually have this in the, like, down below ground. It is very large, though. It's 9 by 7 by 9, so you need a really big space for it to actually fit. But it also works without water, so therefore it can work in the nether as well. So that is another advantage. If you need to use this in the nether, you have an additional advantage for it. So I think that pretty much sums things up. I could easily go on and on about this mod, Better with Mods, which I will be in more bit by bits. But for now, I think that's where I'm going to stop. I hope you guys enjoyed this first jump and foray into Better with Mods, this wonderful, wonderful mod that adds a lot of really challenging vanilla-styled, progression. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, be sure to spread the mischief to others if you think that they'll enjoy this kind of content too. Until next time, folks, I'll see ya.